Good evening, residents of Everett, Washington. I'd like to call to order the Everett City Council meeting of January 15th, 2025. For information on council meetings and how to participate, please visit everettwa.gov/city council. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Franklin.
Here.
Councilmember Zarlingo.
Here.
Councilmember Fosse.
Excused?
Councilmember Bader.
Here.
Councilmember Ryan.
Excused.
Councilmember Vogely.
Here.
Councilmember Tui.
Here.
President Schwab.
Here. At this time, I'd like to ask Councilmember Tui to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise.
Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to ask Councilmember Vogely to read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you. The City Council wishes to acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Shahoksh people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people, stories, and voices to form a more just and equitable society.
Thank you. And to begin with, a request of staff, we'll be pulling item number 5 from the consent item into further notice. So on to old business. Do I hear a motion for the approval of the minutes of January 8th, 2025?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion and second has been made. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Well, good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, President Schwab and council and community. First, we'll be welcoming 9 new firefighters this evening, so I'd like to invite Chief DeMarco forward to introduce them.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Dave DeMarco, Fire Department. As the mayor said, we have 9 new firefighters here tonight. They're just at the end of 20 weeks of Snohomish County Fire Training Academy, Post Academy here in Everett, learning our equipment and our ways. And next week, they will join their brothers and sisters on the streets of Everett as probationary firefighters. And so I'm going to work through introductions, and then at the end of the introductions, Council President is going to apply the Everett Firefighter Oath. Okay. First up is Christopher Berry. Christopher Berry is from Maui and is living in Spokane. Chris has a bachelor's in criminology from Whitworth University. He's got no prior firefighting experience. In his spare time, he likes to play golf, paddleboard, and hike. Welcome to the Everett Fire Department. Next is Ryan Costin. Ryan is from Bellingham. He has a bachelor's in business administration from Western. Everett Fire is Ryan's first job in the fire service. His hobbies include mountain biking, snowboarding, hunting, lacrosse, camping, hiking, and traveling. And not on the bio, but he is a legacy. I worked with his dad for about 25 years, and he is joining us after his dad is retired. Next is Ryder Cuddington. Ryder is from San Diego, California, currently lives in Friday Harbor. He comes to us with EMS experience on San Juan Island. He has a bachelor's degree in international security and conflict resolution from San Diego State. He spends his free time playing outdoor sports. Ryder, welcome to the Everett Fire Department. Next is Jared Griffin. Jared is originally from Pasco and currently lives in Snohomish with his wife and 2 daughters. Jared has experience as a volunteer firefighter in Franklin County. His hobbies are golfing and hunting. Jared, welcome to the Everett Fire Department. All right, we're going to switch rows here. All right, next is Colton Honey. Colton lives in Ellensburg with his wife. He's originally from Federal Way. He earned his EMT from Central Washington University, where he also studied geology before deciding to pursue a career in the fire service. He enjoys fly fishing and upland bird hunting with his German short hairs. Colton, welcome to the Everett Fire Department. Next is Corbin Jakesich.
Just Jax.
Jax. Lives in Seattle and grew up in West Seattle. He worked for 8 years as a general contractor building custom homes. Corbin joined the Air Force Reserves as a flight medic in October of 22 and is still serving. He enjoys playing sports, hiking, camping, hunting, and carpentry. Corbin, welcome to the Everett Fire Department, sir. Next is Eric Lagerway. Eric lives in Everett, grew up in Lake Stevens. He's engaged and planning a June wedding. He has EMS experience with Evergreen Speedway and Northwest Ambulance. His hobbies include golfing, skiing, camping, backpacking, traveling, and working out. Eric, welcome to the Everett Fire Department. Next is Jesse Langsev. Jesse grew up in Bothell and Woodinville. He currently lives in Snohomish with his girlfriend, son, and daughter. He studied audio production in college and has no prior fire service experience. He has many hobbies, including bow hunting, archery, backpacking, fly fishing, beekeeping, running, and fitness. Jesse, welcome to the Everett Fire Department. And finally, Joel Semingston. Joel is from Portland, Oregon, recently moved to Marysville with his girlfriend and their dog. He worked as a heavy equipment technician and spent 6 years in the Army as a wheeled vehicle mechanic. Outside of work, he loves to fish, ride motorcycles, play sports, hang out with friends, and spend time outside. Joel, welcome to the Everett Fire Department. And then if you all could step up and get into 2 rows.
Thank you, Chief. So I'd like to read the Everett Fire Department oath. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully execute the duties of firefighter with integrity, courage, and dedication? Do you pledge to serve your community, to protect lives and property, and to uphold the mission and values of the Everett Fire Department? Furthermore, will you respect the trust placed in you by the citizens and perform your duties to the best of your ability? Do you take this oath freely with a commitment to the highest standards of professionalism and service? If so, please respond with "I do."
I do.
Welcome. You know.
Thank you, President Schwab. Welcome to our new firefighters. Next, I have a number of board and commission appointments for council's confirmation tonight, including to the Community Development Advisory Committee, Deborah Welch, position 6, and Ty E. Fuller to position number 7. And to the Cultural Arts Commission, Ellis McCready to position 5, Randy Stump to position 8, and Leland Dart to position 10. I would love your concurrence on those appointments.
Thank you.
Move to concur on the appointments.
Second the motion.
Okay, motion and second's been made. Is there any comments by council? Okay, clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo?
Yes.
Councilmember Bader?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely?
Yes.
Councilmember Tui?
Yes.
President Schwab?
Yes.
And we have more board and commission appointments coming. Lisa, who is also works with our neighborhood groups, is our team member that's in charge of board and commission appointments, and there's just a lot to process this time of year. So thanks for your patience as we get all of these new commissioners through our process. Next, I'd like to share, for those of you who didn't see the news, that Everett has been selected as a FIFA World Cup fan zone, which is really exciting. World Cup 2026 is coming to Seattle and Vancouver, BC, and other parts of the country. And the state of Washington is doing this differently. So rather than having all activities center around Seattle, they've created 9 fan zones, and we are proud to be selected as one of the fan zones. It's going to be great for our community, thousands of visitors, and also an opportunity for our community to be able to participate in the games in an affordable and fun, meaningful, vibrant way. And so we'll be working with the FIFA World Cup organization, our surrounding community, definitely Snohomish County, to create a really exciting experience around the World Cup. And Everett's uniquely positioned between the Seattle games and the Vancouver games, so I think it's going to be a real hub of fun activity, and also brings a lot of economic development and resources to the community through our small businesses that are going to benefit from all that tourism. So very exciting time for our city, and kind of fits with our momentum that we have around sports and always more sports and engagement here in the city of Everett. And then lastly, I just want to share it's Martin Luther King Day this weekend, Sunday, Monday. There's going to be some activities on Sunday, January 19th, beginning at 3:30 at First Presbyterian Church. There's going to be a community celebration. And there's going to be a second celebration on Martin Luther King Day on Monday, marching from Everett Memorial Stadium on 3900 Broadway to Carl Gibson Center at 3025 Lombard, where there will be a rally that's going to end around 2 p.m. So that march starts at 11 a.m. and the rally should end around 2 p.m. on Monday. So encourage everyone to engage in a day of service, and that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you very much. Okay, now it's time for public comment, which includes written comment acknowledgement. Under our rules, written comments shall be considered in the same manner in oral comments. The person submitting comments must provide their name and city of residence. Written comments require this to be paid part of the public record. Angie, do we have any speaking tonight?
Evening, President Schwab. We have first one written comment, which was from Jose Villalaz regarding Andy's Place, and that was provided to council, legal, city clerk, and administration to be part of the record. And we have a few people in chambers. So I'll start with Austin, if you could please come to the podium. And please state your full name, city of residence, and you have 5 minutes to speak.
Austin Sweats, Everett, Washington. I'm here to advocate for the indefinite retention of Hope and Wellness in its current location without continued exorbitant regulation by Everett city officials. Hope and Wellness is a shining beacon of what our city should strive for when it comes to offering aid to our most vulnerable demographics. Hope and Wellness will not only provide you a place to rest, but will help you find temporary or permanent housing, offer substance abuse and behavioral counseling, provide you with hot food, or let you borrow nice clothes for you to land that job and get back on your feet. Hope and Wellness not only provides countless resources for our unhoused neighbors, but most importantly, it provides a place where you can regain a shred of your dignity. Because by God, being out on the streets and being harassed for simply existing while unhoused is exhausting and dehumanizing. And better yet, it does all this at no cost to the taxpayers. By making Hope and Wellness pick up and move from their current location, not only are you discriminating against the unhoused, but the disabled as well. If you've ever been a caregiver for a person with disabilities, such as myself with my mother, you'll know how difficult it is to navigate a city like Everett. Even just traveling a few blocks can be exhausting. I couldn't even imagine being unhoused while being homeless, or while being disabled. It couldn't be any harder than that. Frankly, restricting social services to the second floor within downtown Metro Everett is a flagrant disregard for ADA considerations. To my knowledge, no other social services in downtown Everett have been targeted with ordinance regulations like Hope and Wellness has. How does it make sense to constrain social services to the second floor when so many buildings in historic Everett aren't even accessible to the second floor? Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think you should go after those other social services as well. On the contrary, I think that the city of Everett, all of us, should uplift facilities like Hope and Wellness and offer them additional resources to do their essential work. Attending the final city council meeting of 2024 left me frankly appalled. I apologize for storming out of here, but the mayor's attitude towards the whole situation, acting as if your hands are tied, stating that we sadly have these ordinances in place, that we sadly have to abide by the current statutes, is just appalling. Well, quite frankly, it appears to me that the mayor finds joy in seeing the displacement of unhoused people, not sadness. If it truly did sadden her to see places like Hope and Wellness go, she would work with city planning, work with Hope and Wellness to find exemption or variance to allow Jasmine to do her essential work, unhindered by the city. I know the city has said that, oh, we've tried. I've spoken with Jasmine. I don't know how many of you have actually gone down there and even laid eyes on the facility, but what she's doing down there is beautiful. It's beautiful and it's what we need. And if you really were saddened by it, you would work with her. She told me that she sent an email with loads of questions and she didn't hear back for a year. And when she did hear back, it was just no, 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 no. It wasn't helping her at all. Anyways, I digress. For reasons unknown, well, without saying the quiet part out loud, I think we all know what's going on here. Hope and Wellness seems to be the target of an anti-homelessness campaign spearheaded by the elected leadership of this city. Now, I'm no lawyer, but from what I've been able to decipher from the pages of 15 and 19 and the breadcrumbs of links to various RCWs, the city has every right to grant the exception. But from what we heard from the planning director, even if the exemptions were applied for, they wouldn't be granted. These grants are for essential public facilities, and Hope and Wellness is definition of an essential facility. By restricting Hope and Wellness's use of their current facility and upholding Everett's no sit, no lie laws, not only are you insufficiently combating issues of homelessness, but you are actively combating the efforts of volunteers in our community who are putting forth their own resources to aid our neighbors. You guys need to do better.
Next, if John could please come to the podium. Please state your full name and city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Do I,
It's on, actually. You're good.
it's on?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak to you. I think you should know the origin story of Hope and Wellness. You'll see a sign that says Hunter's Light, and I'm going to read something I got from Jasmine Donahue, who runs Hope and Wellness, because frankly, her words are better than mine. And Hunter owned the building and rented the space to his mom, Christy, where she opened a coffee shop. Hunter struggled with his own issues and was arrested out of state for possession of marijuana, where he was scared and unfortunately ended up dying by suicide while incarcerated. She and I were close for a few years leading up to this, and she was my sponsor in my own recovery, and then became a very close friend through the years. Christy inherited his properties in this heartbreaking outcome and shut her coffee shop, moving out of the area and working on her own grief and coming to terms with what had happened. I was on my own journey and had started Hope and Wellness in time leading up to this same time. I had no office or means to pay for or start a space. She loved and supported the idea, and in honor of Hunter, allowed Hope and Wellness to use her space. We pay all costs of operation and pay utilities to her, and she donates the space at no rental cost with the agreement of care for the precious building and the trust in Hope and Wellness's integrity of the work we do for anyone else that may feel alone or hopeless. I mean, you can't start enough businesses or build enough stadiums to justify getting in the way of that. Don't let the law get in the way of our humanity. Thank you.
Rob, could you please come to the podium? Rob? And please state your full name and city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, my name is Robert Emery, and I'm an Everett, third generation Everett. I'm now living up on Cavalieros Hill. And I wanted to speak to a little bit about the Sheldon story pole that used to be out by Totem Drive-In. That pole was placed about 100 years ago, a little bit over 100 years ago, downtown Everett by the Chief Sheldon from Tulalip's. And I think, putting two and two together, I think it had something to do with the treaty and the fact that the Hebo Center for the tribe was at Legion Park there. And then they made that treaty and forced the Indians to go to the Tulalip Indian Reservation. And so he was living on the Indian Reservation, and after 30 years, he carved this totem pole and presented it to Everett. And I think it's kind of like a offering, a symbolic, something to do with like, yeah, it's okay, we're out here, everything's okay. But Everett put the totem pole down on Wetmore, and I'm not sure, I think it's Wetmore in California. Then they moved it, because it was in the way, and then they moved it out to by where the Totem Drive-In is. And then they decided to expand the highway there and moved it, it said it was rotten, and gave it back to the tribe and checked for $10,000 and said, well, we'll put another one up. And so it's kind of an unresolved problem, I think, because, I mean, the chief gave the city this totem pole. He carved it himself, I mean, he probably took a long time to do it. That pole is 60 feet long. They say 4 feet diameter. I have a copy here I could give you. Of the original location where it was, so I tried to find out where's this pole at. And I contacted the tribe, went to the Hebold Center there, and they didn't know. Then I called, talked to a couple people from the tribe, and they found out that it's in storage somewhere and could not be seen, which is kind of, I mean, I've seen it all my life out there. And so what I'm thinking is that, like, the city would do well to incorporate, to get the pole back or get a new pole installed as a symbolic connection to the tribe. And a group of us, I posted about it on the internet, and there was like over 200 people said they missed seeing that pole. So it's an important concept, the connection to the past. 100 goes back 100 years. And I was thinking that, and a group of us was thinking of this too, since the city is involved in this baseball project, it would be kind of cool to incorporate that pole or a pole into the art part of the baseball stadium. It would be kind of because you have to do some sort of artistic connection, I'm sure, and there would be funding possibly for that. So I just wanted to suggest that might be one way to solve that issue of this, where the pole's gone and, it's kind of like well, now what?
Could you
So,
finish up there?
You understand what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Could you finish up, though?
Yeah.
Just
What's
want to be
that?
fair and give everyone equal time.
Yeah, well, I talked to, Melvin Sheldon, and he said he thinks it's a good idea too, and he's in on it too. But I think, if you connected up with the tribe, maybe they would be connected up to the baseball stadium, and, there would be a nice connection.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and
Wanted to suggest
Council
that.
President and Emery, if you gave your information to our administrator there, I'll make sure that my team follows up and see if our Culture Arts Commission or part of our community development team can connect with
Okay,
the
thank you
tribes
so much, yeah.
and follow up on this for you. I appreciate you bringing it to us.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else to speak?
Yes. Scott, could you please come to the podium? And please state your full name and city residence. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name's Scott Sparling. I'm a resident in the city of Everett, and I'm here to express support for Hope and Wellness. What's being provided by Hope and Wellness is a desperately needed function. It's fairly comprehensive and costs the city nothing, while providing service that the city is not equipped to provide. They're doing work that changes lives, work that has an enormous positive impact on real people. Their offense seems to be zoning related as a consequence of something as trivial as where their entry is located. The zoning is purportedly aimed at nurturing a robust downtown retail core. That core is years and years away from possible fruition, so the urgency the city is acting with to shutter Hope and Wellness is mind-boggling and arguably cruel. If Hope and Wellness doesn't warrant a zoning exception, I don't know what does. I urge you to do the right thing.
Thank you. Next, if Michelle could please come to the podium. Please state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Michelle Pendergrass, Precinct 13, Democrat PCO. I want to talk to you about hope and wellness, but just a quick second. A friend of mine's son was hit by a car last Friday. He's at Harborview right now, and I don't know why I'm falling apart. But anyway, and she will likely have to pull the plug on her adult son. He was jaywalking, but you know how Broadway is. It only has lights and an intersection every 2 to 4 blocks, depending on where you are. And I just, if we're gonna put in a stadium and we're gonna have the FIFA thing, I don't know. I mean, I want to talk to you about hope and wellness, but it just, we can't let more people lose their children because we're treating Broadway like a thoroughfare and at the same time like a business district. It's not pedestrian friendly. And I know that because I live a couple blocks up Broadway, and it just sucks that this is happening to my friend. And you all know, there's a lot of jaywalking on Broadway because there's no push button lights that create an intersection. Anyway, hope and wellness. So last week we were told that hope and wellness would be contacted about like setting up the tabling. I talked to Jasmine today and they weren't contacted until 3 p.m. today when she just noticed her email at like 5:30. And so just so you know, the fact that she's not getting back, it's not because she was contacted a long time ago and she's just not bothering to. And then also, I did ask her how much she's paying in rent and if that was okay to share, and she said, absolutely, tell them. She pays utilities only, and so that's why she can afford to stay there. As you can tell from what John was saying, the owner of the old coffee shop certainly supports what she's doing, and that's why she's allowing her to stay for utilities only. So I have a couple of thoughts. One, Mayor, you had mentioned some grants that might be available to her. And Jasmine said she would entertain, if it's possible to get grants for it, the possibility of an elevator that would get to the alley entrance. And that could just solve everybody's problem. Then we can help homeless people and nobody has to see anybody, and it's wonderful. And so anyway, am I already out of time?
Just if you could just finish up, be great.
And so I'm asking to pursue that, and also, well, I've lost my way. But, yeah, alley entrance, she is open to pursuing that, and it's damn cold out there. Let's take care of the people who have to sleep outside.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
President Schwab, just a quick follow-up to council, and we have asked for a meeting. We talked about that last week, and so we did just reach out to, we're not unhappy that she hasn't gotten back to us, because we did just reach out to her and are working with Councilmember Toohey and Councilmember Ryan to be a part of that work with Jasmine, so that will be helpful. And then to your concerns on Broadway, first, I'm really sorry to hear about your friend's son, but we are, I think next week, going to talk about our Vision Zero Safe Streets for All plan that our Public Works and Traffic Engineering team is working together with our transit team on what we as a city need to do citywide to increase safety and ensure that we do not have pedestrian fatalities. The goal is 0 pedestrian fatalities, and so there is work underway right now to that very point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any more?
That's all for public comment, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for everyone who's spoken. All right, on to council comments. Council members Arlingo.
Well, a couple of things of hopefully not too much length tonight. One of them does bear on public safety and transportation. One of the committees I serve on is the Transportation Policy Board. It's a piece of the Puget Sound Regional Council, which is part of the Growth Management Act. I represent Everett there, and both the Transportation Policy Board and the Transit Caucus, and these all relate to growth. This is a desirable place to live, has been for a while with good job availability, and that means a lot of growth. And we, as a state, figured out, or have been figuring out continuously since about 1990, when this law came into place, to try to find ways to handle that. So our job as elected officials is to understand the situation and try to represent our community. And a lot of recent work on a thing called the Regional Transportation Plan. And that also interacts, it's worth noting, with measures passed, especially 2 years ago, by the state, compelling us to find ways to handle more density. And one of the things that's coming, and that I think is worth noting about, because it interacts with our upcoming comprehensive plan update that our Planning Commission has been working so hard on for most of a year now, is how we do this density and how we handle these things. In particular, someone I've come to know, a woman on the board, Issaquah's mayor, Mary Lou Pauley, brought up a good point that's really going to be a big issue for us, and it's about the nexus of density and traffic and parking. And there are these state-driven assumptions that new density can come with substantially reduced parking or no parking at all, no incremental parking at all. And the thing is that we can plan for and permit the growth and the density that we're required to do, but some of the things that are associated with that, especially with respect to transit and development in streets, are slower to come. So that's the kind of thing that I think you can expect us to be grappling with in the coming year or so, especially as we work on a new comprehensive plan. And also Seattle's new council member Bob Kettle concurred on that and wondered about weather and topography and whether we're taking into account, with respect to these walking distances for transit and all that, are we taking into account the weather and topography we have here and how it's different in place to place. And I can tell you in general that is what council members are looking at as we're working on this comprehensive plan update. And then, the real question is, are we walking these things forward in a reasonable order? So that's the kind of thing that's happening. I did want to make a note of that here. It's going to be happening throughout the year. And I think other council members, and certainly all the members of the Transportation Policy Board, would be very interested in public feedback on that. What kinds of things would you like to trade off against others? And also, are we doing the right things in getting other communities to share the load in terms of the growth, the density, the parking, the transit, and the traffic? And then lastly, there's a lot of work going on and some money going to be spent on trying to improve safety on roads and streets, especially for pedestrians. That's the largest share, I think, of the fatalities and the injuries that we have. And remarkably enough, it's higher as a percentage in rural areas than here in urban areas. So while big streets like Evergreen Way and Broadway and Everett Mall Way, big and wide and not too many crossings, are pretty obviously a real risk and a challenge to get across when you're not there with a light, they aren't the only ones. That's just something that's happening all over the state. On a more encouraging note and a less complicated note, as many of you know, last year this council allotted funds to restart an Everett Chamber of Commerce to get it going where it can be fully self-sustaining. And I'd heard some real enthusiasm about the new chamber, so when I found my calendar was open at the time of their first event, I bought myself a ticket to see what was going on and show support. That event was today, just a few blocks away at the Apex Art and Cultural Center. It's clear the new chamber is addressing an unmet need, should have great leverage in Everett's prosperity. I know our police chief, Terus, was there today as well. I think the chamber was fortunate to get Wendy Pushbeck, if I got her name right, as CEO. She's getting things off to a really strong start. She knows the people and the landscape. She's got a remarkable board of directors. And one of those directors, the vice chair, was the host for our event, Sean Carswell. He's the founder of Apex Everett, the Apex Art and Culture Center. This is this huge and glorious old building, over 100 years old, that had fallen into kind of disuse in Everett here and was in danger, well, Everett was in danger of losing a building that's on the National Register of Historic Places. So a big, impressive building that nobody could afford to build today, and I think he has really rescued that. He was today's keynote speaker. He did a brief history of both the building and his career, the things that landed him in this grand place that's become Apex. And it's worth noting that this represents him giving Everett a second try after his earlier business ventures in our city didn't work out some years ago, where he lost a lot of money. And actually, I like to think that's what Everett represents in these kinds of situations: unprejudiced future opportunity. And in particular, that willingness to try again is why I wanted to make a comment tonight about what the Chamber enables and promotes. And this is common to all of these businesses: a willingness to invest in Everett, to take risks, to put in not only money and long hours, but one's own identity, sometimes one's own family's identity. And on display today, there were tons of this kind of investment and commitment that bring to us jobs, needed goods and services, amenities, arts and culture, special point on that today, and tax revenue that supports the rest of the kind of things we're doing, especially important in these eras where our property taxes aren't bringing in revenue that is commensurate with the kind of inflation we're seeing. So that's the kind of thing I felt like was really represented by the business people there today. And I think it's a core part of our responsibility to make sure that kind of opportunity is here for all those who are willing. So finally, to cap off that time for me, I was exploring the building a little afterwards and ran into John Carswell's dad, who graciously gave me a brief tour through more of the building. There's so much more there than I thought just driving by. I'd never been in the building before. Things like huge ballrooms, multiples of them up on the 3rd floor, way up above where we were. So if you haven't seen the place or been through there, or you haven't been beyond the restaurant that's there on the 1st floor, I'd definitely encourage you to do that, and maybe we can organize some sort of a tourist thing that way. So it's a great resource for Everett, just like this new chamber. So I'd encourage you to support those businesses, support the chamber, and obviously if you have any feedback or suggestions, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bader.
Thanks, Council President. Real quickly, it was a Riverside neighborhood last night, and Scott Pattison was continuing his neighborhood tour, talking about the baseball stadium and actually, I guess, baseball soccer stadium, and so good presentation there, good turnout. That and night before was Park Gardner neighborhood, and Councilmember Toohey and Councilmember Vogely made sure additional information as well. But Scott was there as well. But great turnout there. But I suspect a lot of that was because Compass Health was a topic of discussion, and it was good to have Tom Sebastian, the CEO of Compass Health, there, and our own city staff as well. It sounds like there is the beginnings of some better collaboration either going on or about to start, and so I'm hopeful that the challenges that have taken that have been part of that area around Compass Health will begin to be alleviated to some extent, and grateful for all the good work our city staff do, all the good work the neighbors in that area do, and thank you to Compass Health for now beginning to help our neighbors there as well get a sense of safer community back there too. So good meeting, and grateful for the opportunity to be there and hear what they had to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Vogely.
Thank you. Thank you to our speakers. I especially was glad to hear about the Sheldon poll, because I did not know about that previously, and so I'm glad that was brought up. And obviously, people probably know that I'm glad the other things were brought up. Last week, we discussed closing down an essential service within Metro Everett, a place where people come together to be safe and encourage one another to continue their life journey, much like encouraging a teenager to continue in academics or encouraging a middle schooler to explore sports, even if their feet hurt. Kids, like adults, need consistent check-ins. Some folks downtown use restaurants to check in with their peers. Some use billiards halls or art institutes. Perhaps your favorite spot is a coffee shop. If you don't show up, people ask about you. If you get really worried, you might call your friend or stop by their house or apartment. Last week, after our hope and wellness discussion, I practiced this without crying. Last week, after our hope and wellness discussion during the EMS briefing, and while fires were raging in Palisades, California, I found out an acquaintance of mine had died within Everett's own Palisades. I had to leave chambers momentarily, and I thank Council President Schwab for recessing while I gathered myself together. Angel, as her friends knew her, was found alone. She had been dead for 2 days. She didn't have a working phone. She wasn't allowed to have drop-in visitors. The rules of her safe space didn't allow for community. I don't know about you, but I check in on my housemates every day. If my teenager doesn't make an appearance for a few hours, I knock on his door and I say, "Hey, are you still alive?" And although it's a joke, so far he has been. We also found out, and I'm sorry to say, that our former mayor, city council member, and firefighter, Frank Anderson, passed away surrounded by loved ones. I wish to pass on my condolences to his family and friends. And to Angel, rest in peace. My condolences to the family and friends that you left behind. On Saturday, January 11th, I attended a community discussion titled Facing Power in Policing. Author Jessica Pishko, whose book The Highest Law in the Land, How the Unchecked Power of Sheriffs Threaten Democracy, headlined the discussion, and whose voice was joined by that of former police, not our former police chief, but a former police chief, Betty Frizzell, Washington State Senator and former Snohomish County Sheriff John Levick, Tanya Isabel, impacted family member of Charlena Lyles, and Trishandra Pickup, impacted family member of Stonechild Chiefstick. One important and heretofore unknown fact to me is that 80% of people sitting in jail at any given moment have not yet been convicted and therefore still have the right to vote. The ACLU was also in attendance with Your Rights with ICE information sheets. The forum was sponsored by UNIDOS, Uniting Law Enforcement, Communities, and Legislators. I'm thankful to be able to attend these important discussions in my role as a council member. Last night, I attended Transforming Justice, a film screening and community conversation on using transformative practices to address public safety and community health in Snohomish County. Members from the Black Prisoners Caucus, Participatory Justice, Choose 180, and others convened a thought-provoking conversation about current and historical decisions and policies created regarding the carceral system as it pertains to adults and children in our community, which reminded me that the Repeat Offender Sentence Enhancement Ordinance, EMC 10.04.130, was enacted January 5th of 2024, so 1 year ago, and administration promised a full report to council annually on the effectiveness, budget impacts, and demographic impacts, including numbers of individuals sentenced and other demographic details. To refresh our memories, the conviction for which the enhanced sentence is applied must occur on or after January 5th, 2024, which was the effective date of the EMC. And prior convictions that make people eligible for the enhanced sentence must occur within 2 years prior to that, so on or after January 5th, 2022. This intent is outlined in the ordinance, and prior convictions to be considered for enhanced sentencing are fourth-degree assault, harassment, use of controlled substance in a public place, loitering for the purpose of drug activity, theft, less than $750 worth, criminal mischief, which entails property damage, criminal trespass, and vehicle prowling. So this is my friendly reminder for that information. And today, you've heard about it. I received information that an Everett resident has an adult son in the hospital after he was hit by a motor vehicle on Broadway close to Pacific last week. Questions arose about distance between crosswalks and possible orange flags provided by the city to help people be seen while crossing the street. Also, excessive speed was involved, so I will remind drivers, as I often do, to check your speed and pay attention. It's also really dangerous right now because of all of the fog. You can hardly see a thing, and that's going to be the next few days, I believe, according to the weather report. Finally, I had my bi-weekly meeting with Chris Collier of Alliance for Housing Affordability and want to share that the new CEO for HASCO, Lori Olson, began her role in December, and her credits include work with Snohomish County, administering CDBG and home funds, as well as being key writer of the Affordable Housing Production Plan. Also mark your calendars because Chris will be presenting to council on January 29th at our fifth Wednesday day meeting that starts at 12:30. And in conclusion, the People's March, food drive, and sign waving event will be held at 39th and Broadway On Saturday, January 18th, from 2 to 3:30 p.m. We will be at our retreat, but I'm sure it will be well attended. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Tui.
Yeah, just a couple of things. I did attend the Port Gardner Bay Neighborhood Association on Monday night, as Councilmember Bader mentioned. It was encouraging to hear the work that Compass Health is doing with the neighbors and vice versa. So I was really happy to hear that while things aren't perfect, they have improved. Heard that from a couple of the neighbors, that things are better today than they were a year ago. And so that's great. And Tom was great talking about what the things that Compass Health is working on. So I felt that was really, I was really encouraged for after the meeting. So I want to thank the neighbors for going and as well as Compass Health. And then I want to thank the speakers tonight. And I look forward to working with the committee to finding a positive solution for health and wellness. So look forward to that. Thanks. That's it.
Thank you very much. And for my thoughts tonight, it just focused on one, and that is recognition of the fires and the devastation loss in Southern California, in the LA area. My understanding is that the City of Everett Fire Department had the ability to contribute to the response in a large-scale national mobilization. And for whatever reason, the decision was not to provide that resources. So there are 2 points. One, I'm disappointed that one of the largest conflagrations probably in our lifetime happened, and a community that's devastated, and we could not contribute. The second thought I have is I'm concerned that if we don't have the staffing or manpower, if we're at such a low capacity that we can't afford, well, I shouldn't say afford because we'll get reimbursed by the federal government to send an engine for 2 weeks. This council took a lot of effort in trying to develop some fundraising in the form of an initiative to provide the resources. So this is just another demonstration on how we as a community can't help. We got to stay within our borders because we don't have the resources. Now, I'm confident in the chief and the mayor's staff to try to take care of the citizens, our residents, for what we have. But I'm just devastated. I'm sad as a community leader to say that we cannot help you and that we're so lean. So I don't take this necessarily as a criticism of the mayor or the chief or one ideal, but it's quite obvious that this is an effect of the lack of funding and resources that we've been given our emergency service, both police and fire, over the years. Now, we can make do, but here's another sign that maybe make do is just not enough. Thanks. All right, moving on to administration.
Thank you, Council President. No administrative update tonight.
Okay. How about city attorney?
There's no executive session. A couple brief comments. Councilmember Vogely asked about the enhanced sentence report. I know that the court and our prosecutors have been collecting data necessary to give you that report within the immediate future. I don't have a date yet, but it will be more or less within a year of when we promised it. Secondly, I did look into your question that you asked last week about the Hope and Wellness zoning situation, whether that implicates the ADA, the American with Disabilities Act, and you would reference the discussion we had in 2018. Look back at my notes at the meeting, at our ordinance amendments that we did at the time, and the short answer is no, there's not an ADA issue here. In 2018, the question was, can we treat methadone clinics or opiate replacement treatment facilities differently than other clinics for purposes of zoning? And the answer that we arrived at was no, we can't. And so we amended the definition of clinics so that they weren't distinguished. My understanding is that clinics in general are not allowed in this zone. So even if this were a methadone clinic, which it isn't, it wouldn't be allowed and it wouldn't be treated differently than any other clinic.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to consent items. We have 6 items now with 5 removed. Do I have a motion?
Councilmember Bader, so moves the consent items.
Second the motion.
Okay, motion second's been made. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo?
Yes.
Councilmember Bader?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely?
Yes.
Councilmember Tui?
Yes.
President Schwab?
Yes, and we have one more item on our agenda, and that is a briefing from the Everett Public Library.
Good evening, Mayor Franklin, council members. Abby Cooley, Director of the Everett Public Library. I was here in December to talk about how the 2025 proposed budget at that time might impact our library services in 2025. I'm here tonight to give our annual update to council, and I'm joined by our new board president, Joshua Glasgow, who will give that presentation talking about, reflecting on our services in 2024, looking towards the future of 2025 and beyond. But I want to take just a moment beforehand to acknowledge the work of our prior president, board president, Rebecca Frevert, who spent 5 years volunteering her time and energy and dedication to our library board and our library and our community through some challenging times, right, navigating budget deficits as well as COVID. She got thrown into our board right during the time of COVID, and we really appreciate all of the dedication and compassion that she showed towards our community and our staff and our library during that time. So I just wanted to publicly acknowledge her for that. And now I'd like to pass it off to Joshua to give our update tonight.
Good evening. As the newly elected president of the Everett Public Library Board of Trustees, I want to begin by thanking you for the opportunity to provide this annual update about the library's operations. Part of our goal in speaking with you tonight is to ensure that the city leaders and all of those listening come away with a greater understanding of the power and the value of the Everett Public Library and why it is vital for the city of Everett to continue to support our community through adequate library funding. The library is many things to many people. It provides books, story times, meeting spaces, and educational and entertainment programs for all ages. But more than anything, our library is at the heart of our community. As a cornerstone of the community, we serve everyone by connecting them to information and resources, as well as to each other, to create informed, inspired, and engaged citizens. Our director's analysis shows that for every dollar budgeted for the Everett Public Library, we receive $2.47 in community benefit. That bears repeating. For every $1 budgeted for the library, the city sees more than 100% return on its investment. And this is a modest estimate, in fact, because it does not begin to account for the innumerable indirect ways the Everett Public Library creates positive change which ripples throughout the community. From defending the freedom to read, to teaching digital literacy skills, to providing access to everyday needs, our library staff are making it happen. Although the library's budget is at essentially the same level as it was 7 years ago, we are nevertheless seeing demand for library services continue to grow. In 2024, there were over 580,000 visits to the library, the highest number of annual visits since 2014. Over 640,000 physical and digital items were lent to patrons. Over 45,000 reference questions were answered. Nearly 40,000 in-person computer sessions were provided, and Chromebooks and hotspots were provided to over 700 people. Additionally, because of our library, last year, nearly 200 people received direction and peace of mind navigating our complicated civil justice system, thanks to our free legal clinics in collaboration with Snohomish County Legal Services. Every date we held a legal clinic this year was full, and we were able to serve community members who otherwise would not have been able to access or find legal assistance in matters including family law, housing, senior estate planning, and debt collection and bankruptcy. But these numbers are just part of the story. Our library has the potential to change lives. Library employees regularly go above and beyond for this community by teaching those critical literacy and research skills, meeting patrons where they are by bringing services outside of the library's walls, and helping families in need. Their dedication to the community is inspirational, and their work creates a better world for our community members, giving them access to safe spaces and possibilities they may not otherwise have been able to receive. On that topic of safe spaces, because of our library, everyone in our community has equal access to safe, gracious spaces, which also serve as heating, cooling, and cleaner air centers in extreme weather. In recognition of the important role the library plays in this regard, In 2024, we received, or tentatively received, funding from several sources specifically intended to support our facilities. Snohomish County invested $321,834 of its federal allocation from the American Rescue Plan Act into HVAC improvements at our main library to improve the library's functionality as a warming, cooling, and cleaner air center. Through the Washington State Department of Commerce's Library Capital Improvement Program, $559,500 for our main library exterior envelope repair project was recommended to be included in the 2025 to 2027 capital budget request. The library will also be receiving an additional $444,000 for electrical vehicle charging stations at both the main library and our Evergreen branch locations. That's through the Washington Department of Commerce's Washington Electric Vehicle Charging Program. Because of our library, the people of Everett can enjoy a higher quality of life. We share collections, programs, and digital resources which foster learning, literacy, and personal growth. Patrons saved over $8.7 million in 2024, borrowing physical and digital items from the library instead of purchasing them. We added materials in several new languages. We now have books available in Lushootseed, Cherokee, Chinese, Japanese, Arabic, Korean, Spanish, Ukrainian, and Russian. And through a new partnership with the Everett School District, student library accounts were created to provide over 20,000 students with access to library materials. From our ever-popular Reptile Lady programs, to story times held aboard boats, Teen Advisory Council karaoke sessions, to retirement planning classes, clay house workshops, and mushroom foraging classes, our free and accessible programs offer something for everyone and bring our community together. A family at one of our preschool story times shared that they felt very welcome at our library after being kicked out of a preschool for the hyperactivity of their young child. The family felt able to be themselves in our space and has been returning weekly. In another story time, we welcomed a first-time family with an interpreter. Even though the child didn't understand the language, the family grew more and more comfortable, ending that program overcome with emotion and smiling from ear to ear. And our first ever Bonding with Baby series brought together expectant and new parents to hear from experts, learn about infant development, and gain confidence and community. At the other end of the age spectrum, a librarian worked one-on-one with a patron over the course of multiple days to help her submit a request for reconsideration for widow's benefits. This patron had minimal computer skills and needed lots of hands-on help with scanning, researching her health condition, emailing, and printing, assistance she likely would not have been able to access elsewhere. Most of the wonderful programs our library provides simply would not be possible without the continuing support of the Friends of the Everett Public Library and our other generous donors. The Friends of the Library is an independent 501c3, and in 2024, the Friends hosted the popular Books and Brews used book sale fundraiser and contributed approximately $12,000 to the library. The library is extremely thankful for the variety of individual donors who support library efforts for the community through endowments, one-time giving, and bequests. We receive approximately $85,000 each year through our endowment funds and received over $14,000 from individual donations in 2024. The library also received an additional $24,000 from the estate of Ida Mae Shack, $21,000 from the Judy Baker estate that will be added to the Bill Baker endowment, and just shy of $100,000 from the Kathy Elkington estate. We are honored that these individuals value the library and that the library can help honor their legacy and their generosity while supporting our community. As we look towards 2025, the library will be working with the community and other stakeholders to craft a bold new strategic plan to honor our past while steering us toward a future that mirrors our city's dynamic needs. The library and its board of trustees will also be prioritizing staff well-being and exploring how we can best support our staff. While we do consider our library staff unsung heroes and know they're passionately dedicated to the library's mission and the services they provide, it should be recognized library employees are more and more frequently being put in a position where they have to act as social services or first responders, but with fewer and fewer resources. Over the last year, our library staff administered Narcan, provided life-saving CPR, experienced harassment, witnessed assault, assisted individuals experiencing domestic violence, and our youth services staff proved to be invaluable and trusted resources for more than one youth experiencing abuse in the home. As these incidents show, without sufficient resources, it's not just the community that is impacted through reduced services. We are also putting our library staff in peril of experiencing workplace trauma and burnout. Looking beyond 2025, we urge City Council and City Administration to recognize the importance of fully funding the library. Investment in the Everett Public Library is, in a very real sense, an investment in the safety and well-being of Everett residents. That is to say, library services contribute to public safety. Yet our library has experienced significant budget reductions, which have severely limited our ability to provide those services the community depends on. For example, beginning in December 2024, we had to make the painful decision to reduce our hours of operation from 96 hours per week to just 72 hours per week. Although we know council members feel warmly toward the library, and we are grateful for that, we are concerned the council does not appreciate the return on investment that comes from fully funding our library, both in fiscal terms and in terms of the library's impact on public safety and community well-being. We therefore strongly urge council members to do everything in their power to ensure appropriate funding levels for the library in the coming years. By reassessing other budgeting priorities in light of the community benefit our library provides, or by identifying new sources of revenue to be specifically applied to library operations. It cannot be overstated. The return on investment from fully funding library services is significant. Your work to improve the financial future for the city and the Everett Public Library will materially affect the overall well-being of our city and all of its residents and families. The Everett Public Library isn't just a building filled with books. It's a symbol of hope, knowledge, and the spirit of the community. With your continued and full support, there's no limit to what we as a community can achieve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's time for questions, or did you have more? Sorry.
I don't have anything else, but we're happy to answer any
Great.
questions.
Is there any question from council this time? Councilmember Vogely.
I just want to, thank you, Council President Schwab. I just want to say thank you so much for being here and for presenting that. And I'm wondering if your presentation can be scanned so that it can be read in the future, and our data, well, so it can be read right now, tomorrow. I think it would be really important for us to have those words written down in perpetuity. So that's really a question for the clerk, but I don't know if your words have been handed to the clerk and if that would be okay with you.
We can make sure that they're shared.
That would be fantastic. So they're hands down so much good information. Thank you for sharing it out loud with all of us.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Councilmember Tui.
I just want to echo what Councilmember Vogely said. Appreciate you coming. Really have enjoyed your speak tonight, and thanks to Abby for all her hard work. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yeah, I'll just thank Abby for leadership, thank the board for your leadership, and really recognize the incredible work that our librarians do every day. Very important resource. Families across our city enjoy both branches, and yeah, it's a very important part of what we provide our residents as a city, and we would love additional resources to ensure it's robust programming. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, just a reminder that council will be having its annual retreat. It'll be held at Legion Park and at Legion Hall, I believe it's called, and it's at 9 a.m. this Saturday, and it will be open to the public. But no comments or interaction, but you can, you can kind of observe. And so we'll see you all there, and with no further business, we'll.
Council President, I wonder if I might bear remarking that our next two meetings are daytime meetings, correct?
Thank you very much. Yes, and we'll have a 12:30 on next Wednesday, is that correct? Okay, 12:30, yes. Thank you very much. All right, and with no further business, we're now adjourned.